In the rolling hills of Montana, where the sky stretched wide and blue, the town of Willow Creek buzzed with whispers about the billionaire who'd just bought the old Hawthorne Ranch. Ethan Caldwell, a tech mogul with a fortune built on algorithms and ambition, had arrived in a sleek black helicopter, his presence as disruptive as a storm. The townsfolk, hardy and suspicious of outsiders, watched him with narrowed eyes. His polished boots and tailored jacket clashed with their dusty denim, and his reputation, cold, calculating, untouchable, preceded him. Ethan had purchased the sprawling estate not for its charm, but for its prize, a wild, jet-black stallion named Obsidian, a creature so untamed it had broken every trainer who'd tried to master it. 17-year-old Lila Monroe didn't care about Ethan's billions or his icy demeanor. She lived on the edge of town in a weathered trailer with her grandmother, May, who'd raised her since her parents died in a car accident when she was 5. Lila was autistic, her mind a kaleidoscope of vivid patterns and connections others couldn't see. She felt the world deeply, too deeply sometimes, its sounds and textures overwhelming, but animals, especially horses, were her refuge. Their honesty, their lack of pretense, grounded her. She'd spend hours at the local stables, whispering to the horses, her gentle touch calming even the most skittish. Lila had seen Obsidian only once, from a distance, when the Hawthornes still owned the ranch. The stallion had been a shadow tearing across the field, mane whipping like a flag in a storm. She'd felt an instant connection, a pull she couldn't explain, like the horse's wildness mirrored something inside her. Now, with Ethan Caldwell's arrival, rumors swirled that he planned to break Obsidian for sport, to prove he could conquer anything. The thought made Lila's chest tighten. She knew a spirit like that wasn't meant to be broken. It was meant to be understood. One crisp morning, Lila slipped through the rusted gate of the Hawthorne Ranch, now renamed Caldwell Crest. She wore her usual faded jeans and a hoodie, her dark hair tucked under a baseball cap. She'd heard Ethan was hosting a public demonstration, inviting trainers from across the country to tame Obsidian. The prize, $1 million. The real cost, Lila knew, would be the horse's spirit. She didn't have a plan, only a feeling, but feelings had always guided her best. The ranch's arena was packed with spectators, locals in flannel, city slickers in designer gear, and a handful of weathered trainers eyeing the prize. Ethan stood on a raised platform, his sharp features framed by a tailored coat, his smile more predatory than warm. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, voice smooth as whiskey, "Obsidian is a beast no one has tamed. Today, we'll see who's worthy of my money." Lila lingered at the edge of the crowd, her hands twisting the hem of her hoodie. The trainers took turns, burly men with whips and ropes, shouting commands. Obsidian reared and snorted, his eyes wild with defiance, throwing one man into the dirt and sending another scrambling over the fence. The crowd gasped, some cheering, others wincing. Ethan laughed, a sharp, mocking sound that cut through the air. "Pathetic," he called. "Is this the best you've got?" Lila's heart pounded. She didn't think. She moved. Slipping under the fence, she stepped into the arena, her small frame dwarfed by the massive stallion. The crowd hushed. Ethan's eyes locked onto her, amusement flickering. "Who's this?" he said, leaning forward. "A kid? What's your name, girl?" "Lila," she said softly, not looking at him, her gaze fixed on Obsidian. The horse snorted, hooves pawing the dirt, but she didn't flinch. She hummed a low, steady tune, one she'd used with skittish colts at the stables. The crowd murmured, confused. Ethan's laugh rang out again, colder this time. "You think you can tame him with a song? This isn't a fairy tale, sweetheart." Lila ignored him. She took a step closer, her movements slow, deliberate. Obsidian's ears flicked, his head lowering slightly. She could feel his fear, his rage, like a storm in her own chest. "You're not bad," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "You're just scared." She extended a hand, not to grab, but to offer. The stallion snorted, but didn't rear. The crowd held its breath. Ethan's amusement faded, replaced by irritation. "Get her out of here," he barked to a ranch hand. But before anyone could move, Obsidian took a step toward Lila. Then another. Her humming never wavered. She didn't touch him, didn't force anything, just stood there, present, unafraid. The horse's breathing slowed, his eyes softening. For a moment, the arena was silent except for Lila's quiet melody. Ethan stood, his jaw tight. Enough, he snapped. This is a stunt. Get her out. Two ranch hands moved toward Lila, but she didn't budge. Obsidian's head dipped, his muzzle brushing her shoulder. The crowd erupted in gasps and whispers. Lila's heart soared, but she kept her focus on the horse, whispering, "You're okay. You're enough." The ranch hands hesitated, looking to Ethan. His face was a mask of disbelief, then fury. "Fine," he said, voice low. "Let's see how far this goes. You've got 1 week, kid. Tame him, or you're out, and so is any chance of that prize money." Lila didn't care about the money. She nodded, her eyes still on Obsidian. "I'll be back," she promised the horse, then slipped out of the arena, the crowd parting like a sea. Whispers followed her, some mocking, some awed. Ethan watched her go, his mind racing. He'd built his empire on control, on bending the world to his will. This girl, with her quiet defiance, unsettled him. Over the next week, Lila returned daily, sneaking past security when they tried to bar her. She brought no tools, no ropes, just herself. She sat by the corral, humming, talking softly, letting Obsidian come to her. Each day, he grew calmer, his wildness softening, not broken but understood. Lila saw his strength, his fear, and met it with patience. She didn't need to dominate him. She needed him to trust her. Ethan watched from a distance. His curiosity piqued despite himself. He'd expected her to fail, to run crying when Obsidian lashed out. But she didn't. She was relentless in her gentleness, a paradox he couldn't grasp. He dug into her background, learning about her autism, her life in the trailer, her grandmother's struggle to pay bills. He told himself it was leverage, a way to control the situation, but something in him stirred, a memory of his own childhood, of being dismissed, overlooked, before he'd clawed his way to power. By the 6th day, Obsidian let Lila touch his muzzle, his body relaxed under her hand. The ranch hands, once skeptical, watched in quiet awe. Word spread through Willow Creek, and the townsfolk began gathering outside the ranch, cheering Lila on. She didn't notice. Her world was the horse, the connection, the trust. On the 7th day, Ethan called for another demonstration. The arena was packed again, the air electric. Lila walked in, no fear in her steps. Obsidian followed, untethered, no bridle or rope. The crowd gasped. Ethan's eyes narrowed, his hands clenching. Lila didn't ride the stallion. She didn't need to. She stood beside him, her hand on his neck, and he stood still, calm, his wildness not gone but channeled, a testament to trust over force. The crowd roared, some crying, others cheering. Ethan stepped forward, his face unreadable. "You've got guts, kid," he said, his voice quieter than before. "But this isn't over. Ride him, or the deal's off." Lila met his gaze for the first time, her brown eyes steady. "He's not a trophy," she said. "He's a living thing. You don't own his soul." The words hit Ethan like a slap. He'd spent his life owning things, companies, people, power. But this girl, this nobody from nowhere, had done what his money couldn't. The crowd was on her side, their cheers drowning out his thoughts. For the first time, Ethan felt small. He could have ended it there, sent her away, kept his control. But something stopped him. Maybe it was the memory of his own mother, kind despite their poverty, or the way Lila looked at Obsidian, not with greed, but with love. He stepped back, raising a hand. "Keep the horse," he said, voice rough. "And the money." Lila shook her head. "I don't want your money. Give it to the town. Fix the school, the clinic. They need it more." The crowd erupted again, louder this time. Ethan stared at her, stunned. He'd never met anyone who didn't want something from him. For the first time in years, he felt exposed, human. He nodded, a single, sharp motion, and turned away, his throat tight. Lila didn't stay for the applause. She led Obsidian back to the corral, whispering to him as the sun set, painting the hills gold. The town would talk about this for years. The girl who tamed the untamable, not with force but with heart. Ethan left Willow Creek the next day, quieter, changed. He donated the $1 million to the town, anonymously, and sold the ranch back to a local family. Obsidian stayed with Lila, living free on a small plot her grandmother owned, where she visited him daily, their bond a quiet rebellion against a world that valued power over kindness. Years later, Lila became a trainer, not for fame, but to help horses and people find trust in each other. Her story spread, a beacon of what it means to see, to listen, to choose humanity over conquest. And somewhere, in a glass tower, Ethan Caldwell would hear her name and pause, remembering the girl who showed him what he'd forgotten. That true strength lies not in breaking others, but in building them up.